The Senate has 100 members, 2 members from each of the 50 states. The qualifications to be a senator are slightly different from those to be a member of the U.S. House. Senators must be 30 years old, they must be a resident of the state where they are running from, and they have to have been a citizen of the United States for 9 years.
In the Federalist Papers, Madison talks about the centrality of a Senate, the importance of actually having a Senate, that well-formed Senates were crucial to Republican government. He was not in favor of having an equal number of senators from each state, but that's what the delegates settled on at the convention. And in the Federalist Papers, he actually talks about that. But the key to the Senate, there are a couple of keys to the United States Senate. Number one, the senators are actually a little bit older. The qualification was that they had to be older than the House. And Madison talks about the need for this in Federalist 63. He says, look, you want more seasoned representatives in the Senate. The Senate is going to be making decisions about national security or foreign affairs, going to have an advice and consent role with respect to executive appointments, and so it's always a good idea to have people who have a little bit more experience, a little bit more knowledge, have been in the country for a longer period of time. You have to understand, people are coming into the country at this time. It's growing in population. There are people arriving and saying, well, yeah, maybe I want to be in the United States Senate. And so Madison thought about the necessity of people being in the country for a longer period of time, having a sense, a greater sense of experience and expertise. And so the Senate does require a higher age limit to be qualified for Senate. The other key distinction between the House and the Senate is the 6-year term. And that was designed essentially to remove the Senate from some of the changes or the trends in popular opinion. Again, what are we trying to achieve here as a Congress? We're trying to achieve a Congress that's powerful enough, independent enough, and capable of passing legislation to serve the public interest and protect the private rights. But we don't want it to become too closely tied to the people. We want it to be representative, but we don't want it to be too representative, because we've learned from the Articles of Confederation that's not such a good idea. The 6-year term of the Senate was designed, in a sense, to isolate at least part of the legislature from some of the whims or changes that would occur in public opinion. The very fact that senators were accountable to state legislatures also is significant in this regard. One of the most important concepts of lawmaking and representation is what we call agency. Who is your agent? Who are you responding to? Who are you as a legislature accountable to? And by setting up a Senate that was essentially accountable to state legislatures and a House that was accountable to the people, what you get here essentially is 2 different types of representative bodies. The term lengths, 2-year terms in the House and 6-year terms in the Senate, ensures that you're not electing the same people at the same time. So even some of the same issues are not the same. The staggered terms in the Senate is also material here, right? So at no point is the United States Congress consist of people who are elected in the exact same year. At least 2/3 of the Senate will be elected at a time that's different than the House. This makes it extremely difficult to create what are called popular mandates, and it essentially creates this idea that legislators, both in the House and the Senate, would have the ability to be close enough but distant enough as well from popular opinion.
In addition to the powers that are listed in Article 1, Section 8, the Senate has some specific powers that come out of Article 2, which generally speaking describes the powers of the President. In describing the powers of the President, Article 2 also mentions 2 powers that are shared with the U.S. Senate. And those powers are the power of advice and consent, in other words, the power to confirm judges, ambassadors, and other public officials that have been nominated by the President, and then also the power to ratify treaties that the President has negotiated.
So the Senate actually has a few more powers than the House, and they're kind of more closely tied to the executive branch. The very fact that the Vice President is the presiding officer of the United States Senate suggests that the Senate is in some ways connected to the executive branch. So in designing the Senate, the idea was twofold. One was to serve as a check against the power of the House, right? And obviously to provide representation from the state legislatures. The other is to improve the quality of laws. The idea here is that if the legislature is going to pass good laws, then they should reflect both the wishes of the people and of the states, and that they should go through the same process, and both chambers should approve the legislation. The presumption here was you'd improve the deliberative capacity of Congress, what Madison calls the cool sense of the community, and this would be done essentially by allowing both the House and the Senate to deliberate and to pass the exact same law.
The Senate is much more individualistic than the House. In the House, the majority party pretty much controls everything. In the Senate, the majority party has far fewer tools to control the legislative agenda. In the Senate, any individual member of the Senate can exercise a tremendous amount of control over what happens during floor debate. The reason that individual members have so much ability to control the legislative agenda in the Senate is because there are very few rules of debate in the Senate. Unlike the House, where the rules of debate take up shelf after shelf of bound volumes, the Senate rules are basically a thin paperback. The formal rules of debate in the Senate are really quite small. What happens in the Senate is that custom, tradition, individual relationships are much more important to determining the progress of a piece of legislation on the floor.